Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaih Tushtuvam Sastanubhih Vyasema Devahitam Yadayuh Sustina Indro Vruddhastavaah Sustina Pusha Vishyavedaah Sustina Stakshu Arishtanemihi Sustino Brihaspati'r Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O the ultimate supreme reality, may we hear with our ears what is auspicious, may we see with our eyes what is auspicious, may we, while offering our praise to the supreme reality with our bodies strong of limbs, enjoy the life which with the supreme reality is pleased to grant us. May Indra of great fame be well pleased with us. May the all-knowing Pusha be propitious to me. May Garuda, the vanquisher of all miseries, be pleased with me. May Brihaspati, the teacher of gods, grant us all prosperity. Om peace, peace, peace. Now, in the last class, we were dealing with Pranavopasana, means meditating on Omkara, Om, as the supreme reality. So we have already discussed certain important points. One point to remember is all the great philosophical, metaphysical ideas of this Upanishad are complete with the exposition of the seventh mantra, which we have already dealt with elaborately. Nanda prakyam, bhish prakyam, nubhayada prakyam, etc. That is seventh mantra. So all the important discussions, metaphysical, spiritual discussions on this Upanishad come to an end with the exposition of the seventh mantra. From 7th to up to 12th mantra, there is the description of Pranavopasana, which we have already explained earlier. So today we will quickly go through the 10th, 11th and 12th mantras of the Upanishad, and then we will go to the second chapter, second prakarana of Mandukya Karika. Because, as I said, Mandukya Karika, Gaudapada Karika as it is known, contains 215 verses, which is an elaborate commentary on Mandukya Upanishad, which is the shortest Upanishad with only 12 mantras. So Gaudapada wrote an elaborate commentary in metrical form, in verses, on the 12 mantras of the Upanishad. So a commentary in verses, in metrical form, is called a Karika. A commentary in prose is called Bhashyam in Vedantic tradition. Now, in the 9th mantra, we already discussed last time, Jagridasthano Vaishwanaraha Akaraka Prathama Matra Aptehi Adimatvat Apnoti Havai Sarvan Kaman Adischa Bhavati Ya Evam Veda. I have already dealt with, we will describe further today. Now, in the waking state, the seer, the subject or the experiencer is called Vishwa or Vaishwanara. In waking stage, we experience all the different empirical phenomenal objects with our senses of perception and mind. And we interact with the external objects with the help of the senses of perception and senses of action. Now, as I said earlier, the 10th, 11th and 12th mantras deal with the subject of meditation. The Upanishad says, if you equate the experiencer or seer or waking state, that is Vishwa, with the first letter which constitutes Omkara, that is A, you will have all prosperity. That is the meditative process. As I said, Omkara consists of 3 letters, A, U and Ma. Together they constitute Omkara. A is the first letter in Sanskrit language. And there can be no word or any verbalization in Sanskrit language without any relationship with this A. U is, so this A, the first letter of Omkara, is equated, or rather it corresponds with the experiencer or subject or seer of waking state. U is the second one. It is equated with the experiencer of dream state, which is called in Mandukya Karika with the name Taijasa. And Ma corresponds to the experiencer of deep sleep state, which is called Prajna. So these 3 letters constitutes Omkara, Pranava. Now, and then the Turiya, which goes beyond all this, which transcends all these states, is indicated by one word which you read in the Upanishad. You may read Amatra, which means it goes beyond verbalization. Turiya is the state of our intuitive experience which cannot be verbalized, which goes beyond words, and only language in which you can experience this intuitive, subjective reality is silence. So, when you utter the word Om, it ends with silence. It begins with silence. It ends in silence. And between these, we have the 3 letters. So, the experience of the ultimate reality, the intuitive experience, is beyond verbalization, beyond objectification. So it is indicated by that point where all these 3 letters merge, where Omkara comes to an end. This mantra says that those who meditate on A, meditating upon it as Brahman itself, equating it, the supreme reality itself, will have all knowledge, because it indicates the all-pervading nature of the supreme reality. And those who meditate on the second letter U will have a higher experience, because it is superior to A. U is subtle. The reason is it corresponds to the experiencer or subject in dream state. And dream state is a subtle state. It is subtler than waking state. The reason we have already explained. In dream, our experiences may be in some way or other related to our waking experiences, no doubt. But at the same time, in dream, every experience takes place at the mental level. There is no senses of action or senses of perception involved. You walk, you may see different objects in dream, You may feel everything, but all these are taking place at a subtle level, at a mental level. Therefore, it is subtle. Waking state experiences grows. Therefore, U corresponds to the seer or the subject or the experiencer of dream objects. So it is higher. That is the 10th mantra. Swapnasthana Taijasaha Ukaro Ditiya Matro Utkashatvat Ubhayatvat Utkashati Havai Jnana Santatim Samanascha Bhavati Nasya Brahmavid Kule Bhavati Ya Evam Veda. The idea is this. Abrahmavid Asya Kulena Bhavati. That is the idea behind. I shall tell you the idea. This mantra says, those who meditate on U, equating it with the Taijasa or the subject or experiences of dream objects, will have a higher level of realization than the one who meditates on A, equating it with Vishwa or the subject of waking experiences. The reason is, it is between A and U, and it comes closer to Omkara, and it is higher, it is subtler. And because it stands between the first one and the last one, that is A and Ma, those who meditate on this process will have equality, will have perfect harmonious relationship with everybody in the world. And then 11th mantra, Sushupta Sthanaha Prajnaha Makaras Tritiya Matra Mitehi Apiterva Minoti Hava Idam Sarvam Apidascha Bhavati Ya Evam Veda. That is the 11th mantra. Prajna is the experiencer or subject or seer in deep sleep state, which is called Sushupti, which is the causal state. I already explained earlier. Because in Sushupti you have got only non-comprehension, there is no misapprehension. There is non-cognition, there is no wrong cognition. In waking state and dream state, you don't realize the supreme truth, so you mistake the supreme truth for something else. It is called Anyatha Grahanam, mean misapprehension. Now, non-comprehension is the real cause of misapprehension. If you understand something for what it is real, then you are mistake it for something else. And prajna state corresponds to the absolute lack of or the complete absence of misapprehension. There is only non-apprehension. Therefore, it is called the causal state. And those who meditate on Ma as Omkara itself, that is, those who meditate on Ma, which is the third matra of Omkara, and those who equate it with Prajna, which is seated in the state of deep sleep, that is the third letter, Ma, because of his being the measure of the entity wherein all becomes absorbed. As I said, in Sushupti, all experiences of waking and dream states get merged or absorbed. You experience something, but when you experience it, you are not aware of what you are experiencing. In deep sleep, you experience bliss or complete restfulness, the complete relaxation. But that restfulness of mind or blissfulness is felt not when you are in deep sleep, only when you return to waking state. So all experiences get merged there. Therefore, it is supposed to be the highest. And then, in the last mantra, in the 12th mantra, the Upanishad refers to Turiya, which we have described very elaborately, spread over many classes, which is explained in the 7th mantra of the Upanishad. So there is no need to go through that description again. Of course, those ideas will be repeated when we deal with the Karika verses. But right now we won't repeat them again. Amatra Chadurthaha Avyavakaryaha Prapanchopashamaha Shivaha Advaita Eva Onkara Atma Eva Samvishadi Atmana Atmanam Ya Evam Veda. This is the mantra. That state which is beyond letters, without parts, is the 4th one. It is beyond apprehension through ordinary means. The cessation of the phenomenal world is called Prapanchopashama. The auspicious and the non-dual. Prapanchopashama, Shiva, Advaita. Now, therefore, this Om or Onkara is the Atman. He who knows this and meditates accordingly, he enters he gets the supreme knowledge of Atman. Now a few points are to be explained here in Turiya, in this mantra. Already we have discussed the 12th mantra concludes the Upanishad. In the 12th mantra, the Upanishad says that this Atman is the 4th, and it is beyond parts, it's beyond letters. One may very logically raise a question. Well, this Turiya, or this experience, this intuitive, internal, spiritual experience that I am the Atman, I am the immanent, omnipresent, transcendental reality. This is the experience indicated by the word Turiya. It is called here auspicious, where Prapancha or the world ceases to exist. You completely transcend the realm of duality or ignorance. You become merged in the supreme reality, the supreme consciousness. One may very well ask the question, suppose you consider this as the sum total, the totality of the previous experiences. Well, it is not really so. So the commentator Shankaracharya has made a few points clear in the Bhashya. This comes in the 7th mantra and all Bhashya, and also in the 12th mantra. Now, Turiya experience is not the totality of the waking, dream or deep sleep experiences. As I said, the Turiya or the Atman is present in waking experiences, in dream experiences, and also in deep sleep experiences. But it goes beyond both. Atman or Turiya is present in all the 3 states, but in its pure nature, it has no association with any kind of experiences taking place either in the waking, dream or deep sleep. It goes beyond all this. Without the presence of Atman, you can never have any experiences, either in the waking, in the dream or deep sleep. But at the same time, Atman is not confined to that experiences. In fact, Turiya plus the state of experiencing external objects is called Vishwa, the experiencer of the waking state. That, in other words, Turiya in association with the role of witness of external objects in waking state is called Vishwa. But that the Turiya of the Atman is not in any way affected with the experiences taking place in waking state. So similarly in dream and deep sleep states. So Turiya is not the totality of all this. One may say, see, Akara, A, U and Ma constitute Om. And Om is equated with Turiya. But here we have to remember, a problem arises. Language can never fully express philosophical truths. And not even empirical ideas. So when you go to higher metaphysics and spiritual philosophy, language can give you only a distant, a remote hint of ideas related to intuitive experience. So that's why the Upanishad stresses the fact that the silence in which all the three letters A, U and Ma, which constitute Om, merge, that silence corresponds to Turiya, which means Turiya, or the ultimate supreme consciousness, is beyond words. As I said in the last class, in the Vedantic tradition, anything that you experience in the empirical world, anything which can be objectified, which can be subjected to verbalization, description, definition, or explanation, should belong to certain categories. Shabda pravritti nimittani, they are called. I will explain in English. See, first, it should be something which is obvious. See, if somebody tells you, he is like sun, then you don't ask the question, what is sun? Sun is so obvious. So anything which is of a universal type, which is obvious and clear to everyone, which doesn't normally require any kind of explanation, you can say, well, it is a sun, etc. This is dravya. Or guna, or it should have some qualities. When you want to explain something, you may say it is cold, it is hot, or it is dark, blue, red, etc. Some color, some characteristics are necessary for you to explain something. Or it should have some relationship with action. So it's called as dravya, guna, kriya. Dravya means something very obvious. Say sun, for as I said. Or guna means characteristics, attributes. Well, how does it taste? You would say it is hot, it is sour, or how does it look like? You may say it is dark or blue, you can say. So some kind of association in terms of characteristics or attributes you need. Or if you say, who is he? You may say, well, he is a teacher. So the action which he normally engages in is indicated. It's a kriya. So he is a teacher. That's one way of explaining. Or you can explain he is the father or son, etc. Sambandha, relationship with other beings. Or you may say, what is the object you saw in the zoo? It's an animal. So, dravya, guna, sambandha, jati, kriya. These are the 5 categories which are necessary for you to explain something in words, which is called the conditions of verbalization. In Sanskrit Vedantic tradition is called Shabda Pravritti Nimittani. Now this Atman doesn't belong to any of these categories. When you realize the supreme truth that you are the intuitive reality, the immanent reality, the all-pervading reality, the transcendental reality, the omniscient reality, and you can have this only as an intuitive, inexplicable, indescribable internal experience, then you cannot explain it in any of these terms. Therefore, we should not get away with the idea that Turiya is the sum total of all the letters which constitute Om. No. Omkara is the Om is the closest attempt that you can make in describing what is beyond description. Tasya vachaka pranavaha. In fact, it comes there in scriptures. If that supreme reality could be expressed verbally somewhere other, well, Om is the ultimate it can go. If you use the word God, immediately God His mercifulness, His kindness, His creatorship of the world, the way He punishes the evildoers, the way He rewards the virtuous people. All these associations will come. So you cannot have any kind of association or any kind of attributes associated with the Supreme Reality, because it is internal experience. Therefore, this Supreme experience is something that could only be experienced. But the Bhashyakara, the great commentator Shankaracharya, makes certain important observations in his commentary. You should remember the commentary was written in 8th century AD. So that point should be kept in mind. He says the 4 quarters of Omkara should not be equated to the 4 legs of a cow. Because see, a cow has got 4 legs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each leg is different from each other leg. So, one may say, so Vishwa, the experiencer of waking state, Taijasa, the experiencer of dream state, Prajna, the experiencer of deep sleep state, and Turiya. These are the 4 quarters, 4 legs of a cow. This should not be the way. This is not the way you should understand this mantra. Shankara makes this point clear. Then he gives a hint. So Karshapana, it's the name of a coin. Maybe it was the prevalent coin in 8th century AD. Now, you think of a $1 coin, if I don't know if you have got it or not. Well, and suppose you think of a $1/4 coin, $1/2 coin, and $3/4 coin. Well, think of it. Now, Shankara says it should be taken more like the way you take a $1/4 coin, $1/2 coin, or $3/4 coin on $1 coin. Now, $1/4 coin merges in $1/2 coin. $1/2 and $1/4 both merge in $3/4 coin. And all this merge in $1 coin. Similarly, Vishwa, the experiencer or subject of the waking state, Taijasa, the experiencer of dream state, and Prajna, the experiencer of deep sleep state, all this merge in Turiya. It should not be taken as the 4 legs of a cow, but should be taken at the 4 quarters of a $1 coin. That's what Shankaracharya makes the point clear. He doesn't say dollar. He uses the word Karshapana, was a coin that prevailed in 8th century in India. That's the idea behind it. Which means waking state experience merges in dream state experience. Dream and waking state experiences both merge in deep sleep experience, because there you don't have any kind of experience. And Turiya, and all this merge in Turiya, but Turiya is not the totality of all these experiences. Turiya goes beyond all this. It cannot be explained. That's a point to be kept in mind. Now, as I said earlier, Mandukya Karika is a commentary on the 12 mantras of Mandukya Upanishad, which is the shortest Upanishad. And again, it has got the Mandukya Karika, which is sometimes known as Gaudapada Karika, has got 215 verses. Karika means a commentary in metrical form in verse. And Gaudapada lived somewhere maybe in the 6th century or the early 7th century AD, 150 years or so before Shankaracharya. Gaudapada is the first well-known Advaitic teacher. That is the distinction which historians of philosophy attach to him. In fact, he was the greatest Advaitin before Shankaracharya. After Shankaracharya's advent, all others faded away because Shankaracharya went beyond all of them. He synthesized all the earlier systems of thought associated with Advaita, and his works are well known. Shankaracharya has written a very celebrated, very important commentary on these 215 verses of Mandukya Karika. It has got 4 chapters. In Sanskrit, these chapters are known as Prakaranam, 4 chapters. The first one known is Agama Prakaranam. Agama means Upanishad, first chapter. The first chapter deals with the Upanishads mantras themselves. The first chapter of Mandukya Karika is a commentary on the 12 mantras of Mandukya Upanishad. It is known as Agama Prakaranam. The second chapter is a detailed exposition of the unreality of the phenomenal world, the empirical world. And it is known as Vaidathya Prakaranam. Vaidathya means unreality, the state of being unreal. But one important point is, in the second chapter, Gaudapada doesn't refer to any of the scriptures. He tries to establish the unreality of the empirical world and the truth that Brahman is only reality on the basis of logic and reason. It is completely free from any kind of theological trappings. Gaudapada has nothing to do with any of the scriptures in the second chapter. He exclusively depends upon reason and logic when he tries to establish that Atman or Brahman, the supreme consciousness, is the only absolute reality. Everything else, including the empirical phenomenal experiences, are unreal. Unreal, you should remember, unreal or mithya, should not take it as non-existent. It is not absolutely real in that sense. But one point you should remember before entering the second chapter of the Mandukya Karika is this. The condition of being unreal in relation to empirical experiences which we experience, and the condition of being unreal in relation to things which are beyond even intellectual imagination are the same. In other words, from the highest point of view, from the highest absolutistic point of view, the world that we experience is unreal, and then what we normally consider to be even inconceivable, both are equally unreal. Why? See, the text will give some examples. So Gaudapada's thesis is, dream and waking states are equally unreal. That is a special thesis here, from the highest point of view. Because if Brahman is the only reality, if the supreme consciousness is the only reality, then from the highest absolutist point of view, there is no distinction between the unreality of the empirical phenomena and the unreality of the totally non-existent things. Because from the highest point of view, there is no distinction between the unreality of the empirical, the relative experience, and the unreality of absolutely non-existent things. There is a difference if you look at it from the relative point of view. From the empirical point of view, you find there is a difference between the empirical phenomena and the absolutely non-existent things. Shankaracharya, the great commentator, gives the example, Vantya Putra means the son of a barren woman. That is a stock example. That is remember this example given, this example started from say 2nd century AD onwards. Buddhist scriptures also mention this. Gandharva Nagara means, it's a city that you imagine existing in the sky. Small children, little children, when they look at the sky, when there are dark blue clouds moving about, and there is sun almost about to set in the west, evening if you take them to Bay Area, sometimes children will think there is a big city right on the sky. Children may think so. In those days, now children are maybe more educated because they may know that there is no such things. But sometimes they think, or we would say, clouds are moving in the sky. Oh, the sky has become dirty because so much of cloud and all these things are moving. Children may imagine that way. Now, does the sky become dirty? And does a city exist over the clouds? No. Or can a hare have any horns? Shasavishana, all these examples. Gandharva Nagara, Shasavishana, and so on. Which are examples for absolutely non-existent things. Things which we cannot even intellectually imagine. Not even think about. You can never think that there can be a city above the clouds. You can never imagine that a hare can ever have horns. You cannot even think of such things. So even as an idea, such things can have no existence. But the world is not like that. The world is something that we live in, of which we are a part, which we experience every moment of our life. But from the highest point of view, for a liberated soul who is living in a state of that communion, that the merging of his own individual self with the universal supreme self, from the highest experience point of view, the unreality of this world in which we live and the unreality of a city in the sky, there is no difference. They are the same. That is the point which Gaudapada makes. So he says, from the highest Turiya point of view, absolute point of view, the dream and waking states are equally unreal. This idea is in another language put by Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel. Now Sri Ramakrishna speaks about the experience of a person who is entering a house. So he is looking at the gate and he finds the gate is made of bricks. And then he moves through the gravel road, the driveway that is also made of brick. Then he enters the first floor. He finds it's made of brick. Now, when he entered the gate, he did not know that the first floor was made of brick. And then when he is walking around the first floor, he possibly doesn't know that the second story is also made of brick. And when he reaches the top floor, then he realizes everything is made of the same brick. But then, before he reached the top floor, the terrace, he did not know that everything is made of the same brick. When he was passing through when he was just climbing the stair leading to the second floor, he may have imagined, second floor may be made of something else. But ultimately, when he reached the top, he understands there is only brick only. So why should he make a distinction between the first floor and second floor? Similarly, for a liberated soul who has reached the highest peak of intuitive experience, there is no distinction between what we experience in waking state and what we experience in dream state. See, you ask a dreamer, for him, dream experience is as real as waking experience is real for us. He understands the relative unreality of dream experiences only when he comes out of that. When he wakes up, he understands, it was only a dream. When he was dreaming, dream experience was as real to him as waking experience is real for somebody living in waking experience. So, between them there is a distinction. But when a spiritually enlightened man or woman, anybody who transcends all these levels, for that liberated soul, there is no distinction between the relative reality and the absolutely unreal. It is the same. That's the idea behind. Now we will begin the Karika. Those who have got the text, we can come to the second chapter, which is called Vaitatya Prakaranam. Vaitatya means mithyatvam, or means the state of being unreal. That's the idea behind. As I said earlier, there is a speciality of this chapter, and the speciality is Gaudapada frees himself completely from all theological, doctrinal trappings, because Gaudapada has to deal with philosophers who did not believe in any scripture. See, when Gaudapada was dealing with Mimamsakas or Sankhyas or other systems of thought who accepted Vedas as the supreme authority, he could refer to the Vedas. I have to give a brief introduction to the 12 systems of Indian philosophy here, because that is very important before beginning the second chapter. Well, there are a few other fringe philosophical groups also, but broadly speaking, the entire Indian philosophical tradition can be divided into two categories. One is the theistic system, the other is the non-theistic system. You cannot use the word atheistic system for special certain reasons. Theism doesn't imply belief in God. You are called a theist. A system is called a theistic system of philosophy if it accepts the authority of the Vedas. It has nothing to do with God or anything. You may believe or may not believe in God. In fact, many of the important theistic philosophers, like for example the Sankhyas, originally Kapila, he did not believe in God. Naiyayikas, they don't give much importance to God. Mimamsakas, they consider God as a very subsidiary entity. They believe that karma, your actions decide everything. So they consider God as somebody who doesn't play very major, very important role in distributing the fruits of your actions. So there are many theistic philosophers who did not attach much importance to God as such. So entirely different from the philosophical tradition of the monotheistic religious systems. The 6 systems which are known as theistic systems of philosophy are the Vedanta, which is called Uttaramimamsa, which is expounded by Vyasa originally, and Mimamsa, which was originally expounded by Jaimini, the great sage who lived around 4000 BC. And these are the two systems. Then Nyaya and Vaisheshika. Nyaya system, the school of logic. It was originally expounded by a sage known as Gautama. And Vaisheshika system, which was originally expounded by Kanada. And then Yoga and Sankhya. Sankhya system was originally expounded by Kapila. And The yoga system of philosophy was originally expounded by Patanjali. These are the six theistic systems of philosophy. The theism implies belief in the authority of the Vedas. According to theistic tradition, Vedas constitute the supreme authority in all matters of disputes, not only in philosophical debates, but also in customs, conventions, traditions, everything. If you are doing a worship, if you are performing a ritual, you have to follow what Vedas says. If there is a distinction between what the Vedas say and Puranas and other mythological works say, you have to discard the views of Puranas and you have to stick to what the Vedas say. There are three important verses which proclaim the authority of the Vedas in all matters of philosophical disputes, spiritual practice, and also performance of rituals. This being recorded before those who want to study further, I can quote the three important verses are one verse from Smriti. Smriti is just a quote, something like a constitution. The great lawgivers, they are called the writers of Smriti. Smriti means law or constitution, codes, which have only contemporary relevance, not eternal relevance. Contemporary relevance means it is meant for that age and for that people, that class of people. That's all. It doesn't have eternal relevance. But whatever the Vedas say has got eternal relevance, because Vedas speak everything in a universal language. The language the Vedas use is universal. It is not meant for a particular nation or a particular religious group or a particular nationality or anything. So Vedas address humanity as a whole. That is the importance. It is so universal and teachings are so eternal. What does Smritis or the constitutions or the works of the lawgivers say is only relative and contemporary of contemporary relevance and importance and application. There are three verses in Sanskrit. I shall explain in English later. The first one is from Apastamba Smriti. Apastamba is one of the great lawgivers of ancient India. Yad adrishtam hi vedeshu tat puraneshu tat drashtavyam smrtau kila ubhabhyam yad nadrishtavyam tat puraneshu pathyate. Sruti smrti virodeshu parasparam purvam beliyasyat idi nyaya vido viduhu. This is the translate verse. The important point is Sruti smrti puraneshu virodeshu parasparam purvam beliyasyat idi nyaya vido viduhu. This is the conclusion of the verse from Apastamba Smriti. I am quoting from memory. So the idea is this. Apastamba says, and he is a writer of law. He himself is the author of Smritis. Smriti means constitution. He says, don't listen to me if what I say contradicts the statements of the Vedas. That is the short sense. He says, whatever the Vedas say or Vedanta say, you take as the final authority. Because Vedas constitute the supreme eternal authority. Because the message of the Vedas is universal, meant for all humanity of all ages, all people. Because Vedas speak of the eternal spiritual values, not of religious values, but spiritual values. That point should be kept in mind. Universal spiritual values. What is the purpose of human life? What is the ultimate goal of human existence? How human beings should live? These are the ideas. And what's the nature of ultimate reality and so on. Which even a non-believer in God or somebody who doesn't belong to any religion can very easily follow. That is the speciality of the Vedas. Anyone can follow. Even if you don't believe in God or religion, you can certainly follow the teachings of the Vedas. The second verse is from Jabala Smriti. Shruti Smriti that is the Shruti Smriti Virodeshu Shrutireva Geriyasi Avirodhetu Sada Karyam Smartam Vaidika Varsada. This is Smriti, is a quotation from Jabala Smriti. So, Shruti Smriti Virodeshu Shrutireva Geriyasi. If there is a contradiction between the Vedas and non-Vedic texts, you accept what Vedas say. Vyasa Smriti says, Shruti Smriti Puranayanam Virodho Yatra Drishyade Tatra Saudam Pramanam Syat Tayo Dvaithe Smritirvara. The ultimate authority is the Vedas. If there is a contradiction between what the Vedas say and the Puranas and other Smritis say, you give importance to the statements of the Vedas. These are the three important statements from Apastamba, Jabala and Vyasa Smritis. I won't go into details. The simple point to be remembered is, in Indian philosophical tradition and spiritual tradition, Vedantic tradition, whatever the Vedas say should be taken as supreme, because Vedas speak in a language which all human beings of all ages, of all times can understand. So universal and so spiritual. That's the point. So all these 6 systems of theistic philosophy accept Vedas as the supreme authority. Many of them, remember, many of them don't give much importance to a monotheistic God even. That's the point. Now, in the first chapter of the Karika, Gaudapada was dealing with the ideas contained in the Upanishads, which is the Veda, and which is acceptable to all the theistic philosophers. But there is another set of philosophers which is called non-theistic systems of philosophy, 6 systems. First, the Jainas, the philosophy of Jains, they don't accept Vedas as the supreme authority. And Charvakas, materialists, Indian materialists. Around, many of their books were written around 1300 BC. Brihaspati Sutras and all that. There were 2 main schools of Indian materialists. One is the accidentalists and the naturalists. The accidentalists believed that everything takes place by accident. There is no cause. They were sometimes known as Yadrichavada and Nirnimittavada. The other school was naturalists. They believed everything is by its very nature. If water is cold, it's its nature. If fire is hot, it is nature. You don't look for any cause or anything. Now, in the second chapter, in which Gaudapada deals with the unreality of empirical experiences, he has to confront the objections raised by non-theistic philosophers. Now, I said there were 6 schools of non-theistic philosophical systems. First one is Jaina, the second one is Charvaka. Then there were 4 schools of later Buddhism. The 2 schools of Buddhist realism and 2 schools of idealism. 2 schools of realism were the school of Sautrantikas and Vaibhashikas. And they believed in the reality of external objects. Though they believed in momentariness, they also accepted the reality of external objects. Then there were 2 schools of idealists in Buddhist tradition. They belong to the Mahayana. The realists belong to the Hinayana tradition, and the 2 schools of idealists belong to the Mahayana tradition. They were the Vijnanavadins and Shunyavadins, those who believed in the doctrine of void, doctrine of emptiness, and those who believed in subjective idealism. So, when Gaudapada had to deal with the philosophical objections raised by the Buddhists, the Jains and materialistic thinkers, he cannot refer to any of the Vedic texts. He had to use his brain only, reasoning and logic. Therefore, the second chapter is dealing with the idea of the unreality of external objects, the unreality of anything other than Brahman or Atman, on the basis of logic and reason. This is the point to be kept in mind. Now, we will deal with the first Karika. First mantra is this. Vaidathyam sarvabhavanam swapna ahrum manishinaka andasthanatu bhavanam samvrdatvena hetuna. Now, in the first Karika, Gaudapada says, those who are spiritually and philosophically enlightened, they believe that all objects in a dream are unreal. And there is a reason, because they are located within the body and also because they are confined within a limited space. Now, Gaudapada first tries to tell you, well, you know very well that dream objects are absolutely unreal. That's what he says. Why? Because in dream, you may see yourself riding an elephant. And you are sleeping in a dream in a small room. And there you imagine or you dream that you are riding an elephant. Certainly an elephant cannot be in that room. And then where are you experiencing this dream? Within your own mind. So an elephant certainly cannot exist in your mind. But in waking state, you are seeing an elephant right in front of you, not within you. So whatever you experience within cannot be real, because an elephant cannot physically exist in the human body, which is too small for an elephant. And again, it is confined to a limited space. So Gaudapada first tries to apply it to our normal experience. Everyone will agree, well, certainly dream experiences are unreal. But when do we make the statement that dream experiences are unreal? Only when we analyze dream objects, dream experiences after waking up. Within dream experiences are perfectly real. A dreamer shouts. When he dreams that he is chased by a tiger, he shouts. He makes noise. Very often shouting noise may not be heard by somebody sleeping in the next room. But within dream, he makes that noise. Because you can make a noise which need not be audible noise. So in the Mandukya tradition, Gaudapada will tell you, the philosopher will tell you, dream experiences are something like memory. See, or anything that you recollect. Need not be memory of something that you experienced long time back. You see an object in front of you. You close your eyes. Again you see that object, but your eyes are closed. So how are you able to see the object? You are seeing at the mental level. Similarly, in dream also, we are experiencing everything at mental level. So, if dream experiences are real for the dreamer, then waking experiences are real for the person living in waking, who is experiencing waking objects. So, what distinction do you find? You ask a dreamer, he will say waking experiences are all dream. For him, waking experiences are dream experiences. A dreamer who is dreaming won't consider waking experiences as real. Just as somebody who is awakened won't consider his dream experiences are real. So both mutually they cancel each other. So how can you say one experience is more real than the other experience? Suppose you live for 100 years, let us say, and you sleep for 10 hours every day. So, well, let us say you dream for 8 hours. I won't make anybody sleep 10 hours, So suppose you live only for 8 hours. Well, you can live for 100 years. So, roughly speaking, you may say for about 65 years, or rather for 64 years you had waking experience, and 36 years you had somewhat, roughly speaking, mathematics, accuracy is not necessary. For 64 years you had waking experience, and for 36 years you have sleeping experience. Do you think you lived only for 66 years? You don't think so. You lived for 100 years. Now, the only difference is when you analyze your sleeping experience or dream experience from the standpoint of waking experience, you consider it is unreal. But on the other vice versa, from dream experience, if you look back towards waking experience, then waking experience is unreal, because there is a difference between waking experience and dream experiences. In dream you can ride an elephant, you can fly in the sky. There is no need of a plane. You can even imagine you're flying in the sky. You can travel to New York in split second. But that is not possible in waking state. So there is a distinction. So just as waking experiences are real for normal persons, dream experiences are real for the dreamer. So how can you say that waking experiences are more real than dream experiences? We can't say. They are shorter to understand. But they are certainly not, dream experiences are not less real than waking experiences, which means both are unreal. That is Gaudapada's argument, and he will continue this argument. When you follow Gaudapada, it's difficult to contradict him. He is so tenacious and so obstinate and very humorous also. That is the uniqueness of this text. So philosophically sharp, uncompromising, and there is also a bit of sarcasm and humor in his statements. You have to remember the book was written around 6th century AD. So now we have already reached the end of the time. We'll continue this text in the next. Of course, we won't have classes in the next Friday. We will not have class next Friday, October 19th, because of a Durga Puja celebration the following day, Saturday, October 20th. So we will have Durga Puja celebration in the new temple on Saturday, October 20th. And therefore there will be no class on 19th October, Friday. So the next class will be on Friday, October the 26th. Thank you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Order.